A beautiful young New York woman was so depressed that she decided to end her life by throwing herself into the Hudson River. But just before she could throw herself from the docks, a handsome young sailor stopped her. The sailor told her, "Don't do it. You have so much to live for. I will help you feel the joy of life again. Just don't do it." She was hesitant to jump, so she asked, "But how are you going to change things for me? Look, I'm off to Europe tomorrow, and I can stow you away on my ship. I'll take care of you, bring you food every day, and keep you happy." The woman didn't have anything to lose, so she accepted. That night, the sailor brought her aboard and hid her in a lifeboat. From then on, every night, he would bring her drinks and food and make love to her until dawn. 3 weeks later, she was discovered by the captain during a routine inspection. The captain asked, "What are you doing here?" She replied, "I have an arrangement with one of the sailors. He brings me food and I get a free trip to Europe. Plus, he's screwing me." The captain replied, "He certainly is screwing with you. This is the Staten Island ferry." The 7 dwarfs go to the Vatican, and they are immediately ushered in to see the Pope. Grumpy leads the pack and asks Pope, "Excuse me, Your Excellency, but are there any dwarf nuns in Rome?" The Pope wrinkles his brow at the odd question, thinks for a moment, and answers, "There are no dwarf nuns in Rome." In the background, a few of the dwarfs start giggling. Grumpy turns around and glares, silencing them. Grumpy turns back, "Your Worship, are there any dwarf nuns in all of Europe?" The Pope, puzzled now, again thinks for a moment and then answers, "No, Grumpy, there are no dwarf nuns in Europe." This time, all of the other dwarfs burst into laughter. Once again, Grumpy turns around and silences them with an angry glare. Grumpy turns back and says, "Mr. Pope, are there any dwarf nuns anywhere in the world?" The Pope, really confused by the question, says, "I'm sorry, my son. There are no dwarf nuns anywhere in the world." The other dwarfs collapse into a heap, rolling and laughing, pounding the floor, tears rolling down their cheeks. Pope, surprised, asked, "What's going on?" Dopey replied, "Your Excellency, Grumpy shagged a penguin." On their way to get married, a young Catholic couple is involved in a fatal car accident. The couple find themselves sitting outside the pearly gates, waiting for St. Peter to process them into heaven. While waiting, they begin to wonder, could they possibly get married in heaven? When St. Peter showed up, they asked him. St. Peter said, "I don't know. This is the first time anyone has asked. Let me go find out." And he leaves. The couple sat and waited and waited. 2 months passed, and the couple are still waiting. While waiting, they began to wonder what would happen if it didn't work out. Could you get a divorce in heaven? After yet another month, St. Peter finally returns, looking somewhat bedraggled. "Yes," he informs the couple, "you can get married in heaven." "Great," said the couple, "but we were just wondering, what if things don't work out? Could we also get a divorce in heaven?" St. Peter, red-faced with anger, slammed his clipboard onto the ground. "What's wrong?" asked the frightened couple. "Oh, come on!" St. Peter shouted. "It took me 3 months to find a priest up here. Do you have any idea how long it'll take me to find a lawyer?" An Englishman, a Frenchman, and an Italian are drinking at a bar and debating which country has the best women. The Englishman says, "English women are the best. When they sit on a horse, their feet can touch the ground. It's not because our horses are short, but because English women have the longest legs in all of Europe." The Italian giggled and said, "Only if they didn't have bad teeth." The Frenchman replies, "French women are the best. When I put my hands around a French woman's waist, my thumbs and fingers touch. It's not because I have long fingers, but because French women have the smallest waists in all of Europe." The Italian giggles and says, "Only if they didn't stink." Then there was silence. The Englishman and Frenchman were angry. "You think you are better than us? What do your women have?" The Italian, taking a sip from his wine, looks up and says, "Italian women are the best. When I leave for work in the morning, I smack my wife's ass, and when I return home, it is still jiggling. It's not because Italian women have big asses, but because Italians have the shortest working day in all of Europe." A man backpacking in Europe comes across a small village. It's starting to get dark, so he asks a villager if he can stay the night. The villager agrees. As the night goes on, the man gets bored and asks the villager if there is any way he can have a good time. The villager says, "Well, there is Sven." The man thinks to himself, "A man? That's not what I like, but what the hell?" and asks, "How much for Sven?" The villager replies, 400 euros. "Wow, that's a lot. Sven must be very talented." The villager replies, "Not exactly. 100 goes to me because it's my house and I don't really like it happening here." Well, 300 euros is still pretty good for Sven. The villager says, not exactly. 100 goes to the mayor because it's his village and he doesn't really like it happening. 200 euros still sounds like Sven is doing pretty good. The villager responds, well, no. The other 200 goes to Oleg and Frank. The man is confused and asks why those two get the remaining 200. The villager says, well, it's for holding him down because it's Sven's ass and he doesn't really like it happening. A Russian and an American MMA fighter were set to fight for the championship. Before the match, the American trainer said, don't forget that this Russian has never lost a match because of this pretzel hold he has. Whatever you do, do not let him get you in that hold, or you will be done. As the match started, the fighters circled each other several times, looking for an opening. Suddenly, the Russian lunged forward, grabbing the American and wrapping him in the dreaded pretzel hold. A sigh of disappointment arose from the crowd, and the trainer buried his face in his hands because he couldn't watch the inevitable happen. Suddenly, there was a cheer from the crowd, and the trainer raised his eyes just in time to watch the Russian fly up in the air and lose. The trainer was astounded and asked, how did you ever get out of that hold? The fighter answered, I was ready to give up, but at the last moment, I opened my eyes and saw this pair of testicles right in front of my face. I stretched out my neck and bit those babies as hard as I could. Oh, so that's what finished him off? Not really. You'd be amazed how strong you get when you bite your own balls.
One day, a man was stuck in traffic, and he really had to take a shit. So he got out of his car, went to a bush, and took it in his hat. He couldn't leave his hat there because he had his name on it. He took his hat, and on the way to his car, he saw a policeman. He covered the hat with his hand. The police officer came over and asked him what was in the hat. The guy said, it's a hurt bird. The police officer said, let me see the bird. The man said, I can't. If I take my hand away, it will fly away. The police officer said, let me see the bird. The man said, I can't. If I take my hand away, it will fly away. They kept that up for about 5 minutes. Then the police officer got mad and asked him one more time. Take your hand away, and I will reach in quickly, and the bird won't fly away. The guy said, all right, and he slowly removed his hand. The police officer came in and grabbed a handful of shit and asked the man, what is this? The man replied, you scared the shit out of the bird. A man had 3 girlfriends, but he didn't know which one to marry, so he decided to do a test to see which one was best suited to be his wife. He withdrew $15,000 from his bank, gave $5,000 to each and said, spend it as you like. The first went shopping, bought clothes and jewelry, went to the hairdresser, the beauty salon, and so on. Back to the man, she says, I spent all your money to be more beautiful and please you because I love you. The second one went shopping. She bought clothes for the man, a CD player, a flat-screen TV, 2 pairs of shoes, etc. Back to the man, she says, I spend all your money to make you happy because I love you. The third took the money, invested it in the stock market, and in 3 days, she doubled her investment. She returned the $5,000 to the man and said, all because I love you. The man thought and thought. Finally, he married the one with the biggest tits. A man goes to the dentist to ask how much it would be to pull a tooth. The dentist said $100. Oh, that's expensive, said the man. Do you have anything cheaper? The dentist said, that's the standard price for an extraction. The man thinks about it. What about if you don't use the anesthetic? Well, that would be unusual. But we could do that. It would be about $75. The man thinks some more. What about if you used a trainee and no anesthetic? Well, said the dentist, I think that could work, but it would be much more painful. That would be about $35. The man thought some more. That's still a lot. What if you make it a training session with a student doing the extraction, and the other students can watch? The dentist says, okay, that would be good for the students, but having it done that way will be traumatic. I'll charge you $5 for that. Great, said the man. Can I book my wife for her appointment on Wednesday?